Today, I want to have a look if I can fix this old instrument cable. Now, the issue here is one of two things. Either the connector is broken, so the wires inside are maybe not connected anymore. In that case, we just have to resolder those wires within the cable back to the connector itself. If we're unlucky, there might be a break in the wires within the cable somewhere in the middle. There's not really that much we can do there because it's going to be difficult to detect where that problem lays. So in that case, I'd have to just throw the cable away, and I hope that's not the case. So let's start off by cutting open these connectors and see if we can make this cable work again. Okay, so we've got the cable set up here. Just to prove to you that it really is broken, we're going to use our trusty multimeter. If we would test it up here, you can see it beeping. So that is connected. The problem is the tips. No sound, no nothing. So either, again, the cable is broken somewhere in the middle, or we just have to solder and fix something in the connectors. So with that verified, let's start off by cutting open these connectors. There we go. So voila. So now we can just flip it open. It's quite tricky to rotate. Almost there. Jesus. Well, they definitely don't expect you to open these things up. Okay, so I think through my rotating, I made matters worse, because now this thing has, well, maybe it was like this before, but you can see very clearly that there is no wire connected to the pin on the top. That's why this part of the connector beeped when we did our trusty little test on the multimeter. But the tip, which is connected to this piece over here, we can see is not connected. So you know what we're going to do? I'm actually just going to snip it off completely. Then we're going to strip this wire properly. We're going to take off this piece up here, and then we're going to solder it nice and clean. Soldering these connectors can be a bit iffy because the heat distribution, well, the connector just sucks up all of that heat from the soldering iron. So it can take a while to get the solder to melt, especially if it's really old solder. Let me get some new solder on there just to get it flowing. Okay, that is loose. And voila. So the next thing I want to do is open up these bits so we can put the cable and clamp it down later on. Okay, perfect. That is open. Is that still cold? I don't recommend touching any of this really. So step number 2 is connecting the new fixed and stripped cable back to the connector. So let's first turn the temperature up again. Now what you really want is for the wire itself to melt the solder. You don't really want to put the solder on the iron. That way the wire isn't really soaking up the solder properly. So that'll do for now. It's not the prettiest job. Okay, so that's done. Enough of that. Next we'll actually just put some solder on here. And then we shall unite. Something like that. Okay, that was a bit hacky, but it worked. Now we're going to connect this cable up here. And then we'll let that cool off. So with both wires now soldered properly, let's see if this actually solved the issue or if we have to fix the other side as well. We're going to bring back the multimeter, bring back the second connector, and then we'll check them. So first of all, alright, so the outside, this is what worked before as well, so nothing new here, apart from knowing that we didn't make matters worse. And now the tips, there we go. Those are now also connected. So that seems to have solved the issue, which is fantastic. So now we can just close off this connection. Now, it is worth mentioning that this connector is rather weird. The pin here, it actually rotates inside of this body, and I assume that this was the cause for this cable to actually break in the first place. All right, so with that now nice and tight, we can go ahead and give this a try. And there we go. So this time around we were lucky and it was an issue with the connector itself. So all I had to do was take off the shrink wrap so we can see it's still on the second connector. And yeah, all we did was unscrew it, solder the wires back to the connector, and that works again. So if you guys have the same problem, go ahead, give it a try, see if you can fix it yourself instead of buying a new one for 15, 20 quid. You know, you might as well go ahead and give it a try. You're not going to make things worse, it's not working anyway. So I hope that this gave you some confidence in seeing that it really isn't that complicated to identify the problem. And if you're lucky, you can fix it yourself and you can make it work without having to buy some new cables. So that's all from me today, and I'll see you guys in the next one.